Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we're glad to have you this morning. Everybody's getting in, all the features are working properly, it seems. And we'll give everybody just one more minute to get in and we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us. All right. Good morning again, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We really appreciate you joining us today. If you have any questions, you can chat us your question by using the box over on the right-hand side of the screen. If you have any trouble and need help, you can just chat that in and we have a couple of people who will do everything they can to try and help you be able to get in and hear everything. If you hear me and you can see my screen, I would appreciate hearing from a couple people that you are able to do so. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our first webinar. And this has been quite a year. I'm sure you all remember a lot from last year where we were at this time. We didn't really expect what came to occur. But we're a lot more prepared this year in terms of having the toolkit, being able to arrange to do things we believe that will help us continue to be able to raise awareness while we're keeping everybody safe. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. We'll respond to your questions. I see that a couple people have some. Yes, this is the chat. I see your, Kathy, I see your question, and thank you, Mickey, for letting me know. All right, I see a couple people are saying they can, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So those of you who have been with us in previous years, you know the drill. But we always have newcomers. So I wanted to take a few minutes to kind of explain what we're going to do, and then I'll go through the PowerPoint that you see here, and hopefully that'll fill in all the gaps that I leave out. But what we're trying to do this year is do things a little bit differently. So we're going to have some tips for you on how we can do things. And instead of talking about the pinwheel standards and messaging standards like we usually do on all three webinars, we're going to cover those briefly. And this particular PowerPoint presentation will be on our website under Pinwheels for Prevention tab. And we can talk about that some more in a minute. But I want you to know that this will be there. You'll be able to go back and view it at any time. And you'll be able to go back and review the recorded webinar at your convenience. So, but for the second and third webinar, we're going to do some different things this year because we know that many of you are probably still trying to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And we think we've gotten some good ideas to be able to share with you this year. So we're going to invite a couple of partners on in the next two webinars to give you some specific details about what they're doing, how they're going about it, how they're making sure they're going to keep each other safe and remain safe in their community. So I'll go ahead then and just start out by saying our whole goal for this campaign, as most of you know, is to spread the word. And what do we mean by spread the word? We mean we want to let people know, number one, that child abuse and neglect can be prevented. And then we want to talk to them about how to do that and how people can do that. So the messaging, the press releases, the proclamation, the toolkit has lots of tools in it for social media, op-ed examples, sample press releases, a lot of things that you see there in front of you, with most of the assets being around social media. There are frames this year. Oh, and by the way, I should say that we're still working on the toolkit. If you click on it right now, you're still going to see last year's toolkit, but we'll have a link that you can use today to get to the new stuff. We're just trying to merge everything together so that we can make sure that it's all ready to go, and you'll be able to pull it up. But Jennifer Hartshorn will come on in a few minutes to go over the toolkit with you. It's pretty much the same as it is every year, but we'll be able to show you that. We'll be able to put the link to that Dropbox link into the chat today, so that if you want to go ahead and go in and look at it, you can do so. So there's the address. That'll be ready to go, I'm told, by Monday. So if you check back in on the website, click on the toolkit link on the website, which you see there in the first line, then you will go to the completed toolkit. But for the purposes of going through it today, we'll be using a Dropbox link that we'll put in the chat. So all those things really lead us to say, what can we do to maximize our collective impact? So people all around the state, and for that matter, all around the country, are participating in Child Abuse Prevention Month in April. Y'all may know, many of you do, that we're the Florida chapter of Prevent Child Abuse America. And as such, we benefit from this nationwide network of child abuse prevention devotees, if you will, where we're able to talk about prevention. We talk about prevention from the standpoint of primary prevention, not that we don't think and don't know that secondary prevention and tertiary prevention are also important. But the purpose of this campaign is to inform the public and all of us and all of our partners and all of our friends and all of our families and everyone that we can say anything to, that there is a way to prevent abuse and neglect. Here are some of the things we can do. And we want to stress the point that one caring adult, one stable caring adult, can really make a difference in the life of a child. They do that by working in their community. They do that by working through their faith organization. They do that through working individually in their neighborhoods and reaching out to people that they see who may need help. So those are a lot of the things that are contained in these themes. You can see the hashtags that we'll be using this year. Great Childhoods is always something that we talk about. Pinwheels for Prevention, CAP Month, we'll have Wear Blue again this year, and we'll be sending out some information on it soon. And we'll, of course, it is in our toolkit, and we'll have that to show you in just a few minutes. So I want to talk about messaging for just a few minutes. One of the things we know is that through the research that was done many years ago now, and I want to also say that a lot of you may not know that this campaign and the use of the national symbol of the pinwheel was really spearheaded by the Florida chapter of Prevent Child Abuse Florida, Prevent Child Abuse America. So everybody had a ribbon back then, and a lot of people still do use ribbons for memorializing or remembering or as a memento or whatever it might be. of the points that they're trying to make or the messages that they're trying to send. So back then, probably 15 years ago now, there began to be some conversation about what is it that we can do that'll make us stand out amongst all the other worthy organizations who are trying to get messages out to the public. Susan G. Komen Foundation, Lung Association, mental health. Ribbons were used for those of us old enough to remember back to the Gulf War and for the soldiers coming home and that kind of thing. So we wanted to come up with a symbol that did two things. One, it stood out as different, and hopefully that would make it stand out as it relates to when people see it and what they see and that kind of thing. But also the symbol of the pinwheel is so cool, and it makes it real easy to tie it to what we want people to do, which is take action. So when you think about the pinwheel, it's hard to think about a sad child or a child who, isn't at least in that moment experiencing joy. And you can picture children of all ages, of course, but young children especially, their eyes lighting up when they blow on the pinwheel. And that gets me to the point that it only takes a little bit of wind or a little bit of action on behalf of the person with the pinwheel. By blowing into it, they create the action or make the pinwheel turn. And that's what we want to encourage people to do, is take action. Just like the pinwheel denotes action, just like the pinwheel stands for happy, healthy childhoods, which is what we want to focus on. We don't want to spend our time talking about primary prevention by reflecting on sad stories that we all see every day, way too much. We don't want to use the pinwheel to memorialize children. We want to use the pinwheel to be proactive in our approach and in our messaging, to talk about what it is that people can do to prevent child abuse and neglect. So here are some tips, and there's a lot of information on this, and we'll be talking more about this as we go approaching the month. But social math works better than just saying how many kids died or we serve X amount of kids. The experts tell us that when we're trying to make these kind of points, we should use what they call social math. How many kids does it take to fill up a bus? How many kids are in a classroom? How many kids are born every year in our county? And if we use those types of messages and that type of messaging, then we're going to be more successful at setting this proactive tone and in reaching people. Because I probably am not the only one who struggles with numbers. Years ago, I know all of you have heard of dyslexia. I thought that I was one of the only people who had dyscalculia, and now I've learned that that's a real thing. So numbers mean a lot to some people, but they kind of create this big number that's unreachable, unapproachable. Can we really do anything about that? The problem is so huge. But if we put it into terms like how many people will fit in Raymond James Stadium, how many people will fit into a local high school stadium or a gymnasium, or how many people are in a classroom, those are ways that the experts tell us that we can reach people and make more of an impact around what we're trying to get across about how many kids need help, how many kids your agencies and organizations have helped, and what we seek to do from there. And if we use local stories, if we find people who have found a way to make a difference, those are inspirational, those are motivational. So you want to look for, when you're putting together your messaging for your community, if you can find someone who will be willing to talk about a way they found to make a difference, or if you can find someone who's benefited from prevention services, then you're going to be able to make an even more significant impact by using local people and talking about local stories. Use situations, or another option would be to use situations that people can identify with, such as the lack of affordable housing. And I don't have to tell any of you on the phone, I'm sure, about what a challenge people are facing now as they try to pay the rent or pay their mortgage or try to find a place to live. We know homelessness and hunger has gone up. So those type of things can really help people identify with us and what we're trying to do, identify with you and your organization and what you stand for and what you're trying to get people to see. So if we use those kinds of things, if we talk about the lack of mental health or substance abuse services, or we can talk about what is available in our community, the lack of affordable child care. And again, I don't have to tell anybody on this call about what those challenges have been like now almost an entire year. So using those types of messages, the experts tell us, are going to make a bigger impact on people and get it to stick with them way more than if we overwhelm them with numbers that don't have any place in context, or that we use people and we talk about the harm that's come to children and that kind of thing. So a little bit more on messaging. Many of us, many of you have known and have talked about this for years, but we also want to use this opportunity to talk about healthy child development. We talk about healthy childhoods when we talk about the Pinwheel. We talk about healthy, happy children when we talk about the Pinwheel. A part of building a foundation for healthy, strong communities is having healthy children, healthy families. Those two things we know are building blocks for healthy communities. And of course, children are the foundation for our future. We need somebody, those of us who are old enough to begin to contemplate retirement, think about what we're going to be able to do, maybe where we want to be. And right now, I'll tell y'all that being in Tallahassee in the past few weeks really has me contemplating about where I want to be. I want to be somewhere warm. That's going to be one of my goals, is to get somewhere where I don't have to be freezing and living in the rain in my, let's just say, elder years. We also want to talk about long-term effects of adverse childhood experiences, and we can tie those to the cost of abuse and neglect. I'm sure, again, almost all, if not all of you know that we not only save lives when we invest in prevention, but we save dollars, and it makes sense. And you can use those words and phrases in your messaging as well, and give examples of ways or things people can do to prevent child abuse and neglect, or CAN as I abbreviated it there. If you're searching for ways, or if you're trying to think of examples, we have on our website the 10 things you can do to prevent abuse and neglect. And of course, I'm sure all of you know how to use the Google machine. There are a lot of lists out there. When I looked at them originally several years ago, I wanted to pick some of the ones that were most germane to our look at things, to our viewpoint. But you can find lots of different things that are prime examples of what people can do in their neighborhoods, on their streets, in their communities, ways to prevent abuse and neglect. And let us know if you need more information, or if you want to talk about something else. We're always willing to do that. Now, I want to talk too about the impact of the Pinwheels. So when we sell our Pinwheel boxes, or when we sell micro gardens, or when we encourage people to put up Pinwheels, one of the things we know we're doing is creating a buzz, or creating conversation around, what are those? What do they stand for? What are these Pinwheels? Why are they there? Which is all good. But it's even better if we can pair that with a poster or with a flyer or with a sign or a banner or something like that, that gives them a little bit of information, maybe a place that they can go find out more information. So if you order one of our micro garden pinwheel boxes from our website, then you automatically get a sign to put in the ground by your pinwheels. So you can find those on our website, and I'll show you the link to those in just a few minutes. We also can use them to talk about, this is how many people were entering a local school in our area. And we can use the pinwheels to represent the number of children, for example, entering a kindergarten class or a second grade class or the entire school. It really just depends on your community, what you see as doable, what you think will make the biggest impact, who your partners are, what your overall goals for your local area may be. You can use them to talk about the number of children or the number of families served by a local program. And I know a lot of people do this already. One thing I want to encourage you all to, and please ask you to please don't do, and this again just has to do with the information and the expertise that's been lent to this cause over the years, is that we know we're defeating our message to a certain extent if we're using the pinwheels to represent the number of children injured or killed as a result of child abuse and neglect. Memorialization is fine, and people understanding that abuse and neglect is a danger and a hazard that our communities have to face, is fine. But what we don't want to do is draw attention to the pinwheels for negative reasons, because we're really trying to focus people, our communities, on moving upstream, so to speak, or going to the top of the cliff and putting a guardrail around the top of the cliff instead of building a hospital at the bottom of the cliff. What if we treated polio or other diseases by using pinwheels, by using wheelchairs? Imagine if the way that we went about treating the kids getting injured in car accidents was just say, we need to have more bandages and more splints, and we need to better prepare our hospitals to deal with that. We figured that out a long time ago. We figured out that it was better to prevent those injuries, so we started requiring seatbelts. A lot of us remember when we laid in the back window or sat in the back seat and fought with our siblings the whole way while we were traveling. Now we know we can prevent injury. We can prevent those things from happening because we realize not only is it cheaper, and not only does it lead to more people being able to be alive, productive, contribute to society, etc., but we also realize that that's what is best for kids, and that's what's best for families, is to prevent those things from happening to start with. Same thing goes for the number of reported cases of abuse and neglect. Not that those things can't be a part of your messaging when you talk to people, but we just want to discourage you from using the pinwheels to represent those things. So what are we going to do? Well, this is the part that I really like to talk about. Our emphasis this year is going to be on having safe, socially distanced events, following CDC guidelines. We believe there are ways that we can do this. We believe there are ways, and if your local guidelines prohibit any type of gathering, we're going to go with your guidelines. We're going to support you to the degree that we are able to do so. And we believe there are some ways that we can do this. And you see one right there. Hopefully you can tell what that is. We believe that there are a lot of different ways we can go about doing that. One way is what I call a homemade drive-in theater. Now, some of you have drive-ins in your communities, and I know I've spoken with a couple of you And I'll just use the Ocala area as an example. And Chrissy's down there doing a great job of organizing, helping organize through their Early Learning Coalition. They actually have a drive-in, so they're considering trying to do something like this in their area. And we'll be hearing more about this over the next 2 webinars. But I'll tell you a little bit about what you see there. This particular drive-in, homemade drive-in, is right in front of a water park, if you can't tell what that is. And one of the things that we want to make sure that people know is that we have 5 copies of the resilience film. Many of you have used it before, but this is just another idea, another way that you might be able to use it. And I'll take it one step further. If you want to just do a family-friendly movie, if you can pull this off, if you can find partners in your area, sponsors, whatever it is, that are willing to team up with you, I'm going to encourage you to go big. A lot of you have tons of resources and wealthy organizations and partners who are willing to spend money on kids and make arrangements for these kinds of things to occur. But if you don't, if you can't figure that out, you can use the resilience film, you can use Broken Places, we have 1 copy of it, or just show a family-friendly movie. And if you find that you want to pursue this and you find a hurdle or an obstacle that is preventing you from being able to do this, such as having a screen to show a film on, you can reach out to us. And we don't have a lot of money to be able to use for this kind of thing, but I will tell you that we do have some. And I was surprised when I looked into this at how cheaply you can purchase a screen. Now, it depends on how many people that you're wanting to invite, and keeping in mind that we're talking about keeping safe, following your local guidelines, using the protocols and following all the rules from your area. We believe if you can figure that part out, we want to support you in doing that. If you need a screen that's big enough to show one of these films or a family-friendly movie to a group of 50 people, there are outdoor screens that you can purchase, and I was surprised at how cheap they are. If you need speakers, if you need a DVD player, if you need a piece of equipment, and you've got all the other pieces in place, but that one thing is a barrier, is a hurdle, is an obstacle, then please reach out to us. We might be able to find a screen that you can rent locally that we would be able to help you rent, or some of these screens, and depending on the size of the group that you want to reach, we might even look into purchasing a screen to help you be able to pull this off in your area. So I just want to encourage y'all, use your imagination, come up with ideas, call me, write me, let's talk about it. I think we can figure some of these things out, and we'll be able to have some events in some places that will help us draw attention. And if you can imagine this type of setting, you can see why it might draw some attention. And if we get some photos, some pictures for sharing, we're going to help you magnify, and you're going to help us maximize our collective impact. So if you have questions about any of these, I'll stop in just a few minutes to take your questions. But first, there are a couple of other things I want to point out. Over the years, I've been at Prevent Child Abuse Florida for 5 years now. And over the years, I've had a chance to see lots of people doing very creative things. So I've put some samples here. In some of them, you see some of the more iconic locations across our state that I've been privileged to go to. You see the Pensacola Beach Ball. There's a group of people right there getting ready to walk down and plant pinwheels in the sand on Pensacola Beach. And that was just an awesome event. If you can imagine, if you have a body of water, certainly if you have a body of water like the Gulf or the Atlantic, that you can plant pinwheels in the sand with a group of 25 people, 50 people. I think there's a way that you can do that and remain safe. I think you can plant pinwheels on the beach and not come within 10 feet of each other, much less 6 feet of each other. And if you look at the picture of the Capitol there, we planted those last year. We never came any closer than, I'd say, more than 6 feet from each other when we did the planting around Florida's historic Capitol. There's a picture of the shrine locally here in Tallahassee where we were able to plant pinwheels, and that was an early picture, but if you put them in thicker and thicker, obviously they're going to make more of an impact. And those blue and silver pinwheels in the sun, shining, glinting against the backdrops, those are one of the things I think are going to help us make that impact across the state, across the country, in your local communities. You can also see downtown Tampa there on the bottom left-hand corner. The folks at Hillsborough Children's Board are awesome. They are getting ready, as you can see, to plant the pinwheels in their space there, right on the riverfront. You also see Publix Field down in Lakeland. They have a minor league baseball team down there that sponsors Pinwheels for Prevention Night. Locally, I put a picture of the sign that they put up in the park. Again, we're going to go with local rules, local protocols, local guidelines. If you believe you can pull it off and you believe you can be safe in doing so, we want to support you in being able to do that. So you're only limited by your imagination and by the need to keep everybody safe. Here's another idea. This particular one is from Orlando. And this, I forget the name of the lake. I'll say it wrong if I try to say it, but I'm sure many of you know the name of the lake and maybe somebody can chat it in for us. But we want to encourage you to reach out in your local communities. There are a number of organizations and entities that are already doing these type of things. And I know the folks in Orlando have been able to work with their local authorities to be able to get the fountains lit in blue during the month of April. There are bridges, there are fountains, there are buildings where you might be able to reach out, approach people who are willing to participate in this worthy endeavor and light up their buildings, light up the bridge, light up the fountain, and bring attention and awareness in that way. So before we go into the toolkit, to be able to show you around a little bit in it and talk about it a little bit more, I just wanted to show you the list of the webinars coming up. And hopefully you all got the email. If you didn't, please reach out to me so I can make sure you're on my list. We do get a lot of bounces because I send them to a lot of people. Some servers are reluctant to let our email through because it might be addressed to 100 people or more. So if you didn't get it, please reach out. Please share it if you did. We're just trying to reach as many people as possible. And then the second webinar on March the 5th, we will have a couple of Rockstar partners come on to be able to talk about some of the things that they're doing. Same thing goes for the one on March the 19th. And now I am going to stop sharing my screen and hope that we can pull up the link to the toolbox. And while we're working on that, I'll just say that we really appreciate you all being able to tune in and join us today. I want to give Jennifer or Nydia a chance to be able to get that pulled up. And Jennifer, I've made you the presenter. I hope you can see where I have done so.
It did ask me to begin recording, and it gave me options to open up my security. I'm not exactly sure
Okay.
what it
Let me
wants.
see if Nydia or I can figure it out.
Good morning, everyone. Did you want me to just go to the link and share my screen?
Yeah, that'd be great, Nydia.
Okay, if y'all could just bear with me just a moment, I can have that pulled up.
That'd be great.
Is there, which particular document in the, you want to just pull up all the folders or one particular one?
If you'll just open up the social media folder and go to the social media assets guide, that'll give the,
Okay.
the full overview of our social media guide, which basically contains the main images of the campaign. And so for the toolkit this year, we have many of the same items that you're used to receiving, which are the sample press release. I did not include a media advisory this year that essentially is an invitation to the media to come to your event. And so if that's something that you need, you can reach out to me and I will help you develop one for your event. But we're not having as many community events this year, so we put our focus on other items this year. We do still have the talking points, and then of course the social media images. I did want to mention, Chris, just this is not something that our network has to take any action on, but just so everyone knows, each year we also run a very robust media campaign out of the state office, and many of you may have seen our commercials or heard commercials or public service announcements throughout the state, and we are continuing to do that. We also had a campaign in previous years where we have run advertisements and our public service announcements in movie theaters, and that did not clearly that was not something that we could do this year. So we did switch that campaign to streaming platforms. So I hope that this year you will see us when you're watching Hulu or Peacock or the other streaming services. So if anybody happens to see our public service announcements when you're watching TV on your favorite streaming service, I hope you'll just send us a quick email. We'd love to know if it's reaching our folks out there. It's just one of those things that we know it's reaching someone, but it's really exciting when we hear from people that they actually saw it. So please share with us if you happen to see that. We'd love to know about it. But back to our social media toolkit, just like in previous years, we're providing art in a variety of ways. Most of it is static art, but there are a couple of videos and GIFs or GIFs, however you pronounce it. And then we also have the language that can go there along with those images. And the images are contained in another folder, so you can download those directly. And after I finish speaking, I'll put the link directly in the chat. So if you want to download from the Dropbox today, you can. And as Chris said, we're working on getting everything updated on the website, and that should be completed by Monday. So Wear Blue Day is April 1st. That is a Thursday this year. Typically we do it on a Friday, but the first Friday is the Friday before Easter, Good Friday, so we didn't want to do that this year. So we decided as a national network to bump that up to April 1st and just kick it off on the first day of the year, which this year is a Thursday. So that's the reasoning behind that. But you'll see that there's something, we have it laid out, so it gives you the date, the item to post. This third column is the name of the file. When you download the folder, you'll see the names of the files in there, and then some text. And you can program this directly into your social media platforms, whichever platform you use. I think most of us are still using Facebook, but these can also be adapted for other social media platforms. Nydia, we can jump out of here or back up into the Dropbox one level, and you can also see that we have folders in there that give you covers, some images. The cover images are if you want to change the header on your Facebook or Twitter, those items are available in there. So these are the main images. We know that this year so many things are going to rely on virtual images. You can probably use these social covers and some of the social media images to adapt to other things that you need virtual images for. However, if you are doing something that you need additional images for, you need particular sizes for, if you'll just email us and let us know, we can help you adapt these to meet whatever needs you have. So I know there's going to be a lot of creative things this year that we haven't thought of in the past. So I just wanted to let you know that we're available to help adapt these to whatever you need. I also did just want to mention there is a file in here for a yard sign, which we've used in the past. However, I just want to mention that this year more than ever, when we're doing these events and we can't invite loads of people to our events like we have in the past, it is important when you have Pinwheels out in an area that they're accompanied by something that allows people walking by or coming by to know what the Pinwheels stand for and to know how to get more information. So whether that's through a yard sign or a poster or whatever means you have available, just try to keep that in mind as you're planting Pinwheels throughout the state. Chris, were you going to talk further about the ideas sheet that I sent you, or did you want me to include that?
If I can pull it up, I'll just take back control, Nydia, and I can pull it up. I love it.
Okay, fantastic. So these are just some brainstorming ideas that a group of us had for ways that you can still have socially distanced events and activities. And so there's a list there, and if you have other ideas, we'd love this to be a working document throughout the month that we can continue adding and sharing ideas with others throughout our network. So that's also contained in the toolkit and part of the download. And so in the past, we've seen, like I said, it's just a time to be creative, just like last year was. We have car wraps and magnets that we've used in the past. We have partners that do a great job of sponsoring the purchase of the Pinwheels, and then they make them into small bundles and take them into businesses and accompany those with a poster or a flyer that tells a little bit about what the Pinwheels are. Of course, they also take pictures of their businesses with the Pinwheels in the business, and they do a little social media thing that helps promote the business and promotes the Pinwheels. You could do a community Pinwheel scavenger hunt that could be driven by social media, and it'd be great if you could get some prizes to go behind that. Chris talked already about maybe some photo contests or having folks post their pictures of their Pinwheels, for example, in iconic places. You could also do a variety of different social media photo contests with some potential themes.
Jennifer,
there.
Thank you. Yeah, I will talk a little bit about that, but I just wanted to say the idea that you mentioned about taking the Pinwheels, putting them in front of planters, or putting them in planters in front of businesses, downtowns especially. There's some examples of those kind of photos on our website, and they work really well because they bring attention to the business. If it's a restaurant doing takeout or something like that, I think those make for great partnerships. And I just want to encourage people to, like I said, be bold and approach people maybe you've never approached or never thought of approaching some of these folks. And this might be a great opportunity for you to get business people, chambers of commerce, downtown associations, merchants associations interested in knowing that businesses benefit when we prevent abuse and neglect. So I just want to say, I know we have our partners in the Suncoast region to thank for coming up with that and showing it to us to start with. But I just think that's another great idea that people can do.
Absolutely. And there are more ideas here. And like Chris said, some of these we borrowed because folks on this call and other partners throughout the state did them before we thought of them. So, you know, we just love the opportunity to be able to share with everyone what has worked in other communities. So, you know, please don't be shy about letting us know what your great ideas are so we can share those as well. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, it's on here towards the bottom, but utilizing your local influencers, whether that's trying to get on your morning or afternoon news programs, you know, those are still very good ways to get the word out about what's going on in your community. So utilize your traditional media, continue to. And then also there are social media influencers right in your community, whether that in our community, it's the folks who run a community calendar board called Fun for Tally Kids. They have a huge social media platform. There are mommy groups on social media. So if you're able to get connected with those influencers, I think that in Tampa, there's a newspaper, like a lifestyle reporter that runs a large blog that's well followed by families and parents. And so just think out of the box of who are these partners and influencers in your community you haven't engaged yet that might be worth trying to engage this year to get the word out to more audiences and different audiences. And you can use our talking points. And like I said, we can help you prepare for something like that. If you've never done it before, we can help talk you through it.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I think that we will be surprised by more creativity this year. And we certainly, as you know, we want to encourage that. If you have ideas that haven't been mentioned, we really want to encourage you to reach out and share those ideas with us. So we will go into this more as I promised. But for the time being, I'd like to go back to the PowerPoint. Please continue to chat in your questions, and I'm going to go through just a couple more slides, and then we'll try to answer any questions that people may have. So I hope everyone can see my screen. I am going to pretend that they can and keep going.
We can see your screen just fine, Chris.
Thank you, Nydia. Thank you. Yeah. It's always hard because you can't see what other people can see, so I appreciate the feedback. We are planning for a statewide kickoff. I won't talk any more about that, except to say stay tuned. We're still formulating our plans, working with partners, working with the different people that we need to be able to work with. We think, some really cool ideas and plans for a statewide kickoff, but I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to say anything in case, something doesn't work out, but you will definitely be hearing more on this on the next couple of webinars, and hopefully in the coming weeks. So we'll keep you apprised. We also, a lot of y'all may not know that we ventured into the podcast world last month. And Jennifer and Nydia can remind me of the second name of our Pinwheel podcast. But I just wanted people to know about those. And we'll be able to put that on our website as well, so people can go to our podcast link and be able to listen. We started out last month by talking about mentors and how important mentors are as one of the main ways we can have those caring adults involved with children. So we talked to a group, Fatherhood Circle of Parents group, down in the middle part of the central part of the state on our first one, and we really appreciated what we heard, the things that they were saying, that not only, you know, what did they feel like they were doing for the members of the group, but what they got out of it themselves. And I think, to me, that was one of the really cool parts about it, was hearing them talk about what they got out of it, not just what they felt they were able to do for the kids or the other fathers in the group, but what they got out of it too. So next month, actually later this month, you will see our next version. I call it The Legend of the Pinwheel, plus Cap Month in the Pandemic. So we're just going to continue this theme, continue to talk about ideas, generate ideas and ways that people can engage their communities. And then in March, we'll also feature a couple of those rockstar partners that I mentioned earlier to take a few minutes to talk on the podcast about some of the things that they're doing. So however you get your podcasts, and goodness knows I'm still learning about all that, but I have good people to help me. So we'll be sharing that and sharing more about that in the not too distant future. If you need more information, if you'd like more information, if you just want to talk to us, if you want to talk to Jennifer about the toolkit, she mentioned a couple of things that she'd be glad to help you with. We're always wanting to listen to more ideas. Please give us a call, email us. There's our email addresses there, our phone numbers. I haven't given out my desk phone number since I started 5 years ago, and I'm not going to start now. You can call me anytime. If I can't take your call right then, I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Or email us. Y'all know these days that that's probably one of the best and easiest ways to get in touch with people. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know more about your ideas. We'd love to know more about how we can help. So that being said, Nidhi, I just want to pause and make sure if there are questions that people have that we need to talk about.
Sure, I've kind of been answering some of them as we go along. Some of the questions have been, how can a copy of the Resilience movie be reserved for those drive-in movie nights and events? Excellent. I am answering that in the box. Another question came through about the link for the Dropbox that we were able to see. Jennifer put the link in the chat box, but I'll also respond to that in the question box as well. Another question, can we get a link to the social media content? Again, we can access that through the Dropbox link. All of those social media images, the Facebook cover images, those are all available in that Dropbox link.
Excellent, excellent.
About it.
All right. Anything else, Nydia or Jennifer, that you'd like to add today?
I think that's about it for me. Chris mentioned about the podcast. I'm the official co-host on the podcast with Chris. So yeah, stylish. You guys.
You're the stylish host. Yeah.
Oh, but it doesn't matter because they don't even see us anyway.
That's true. That's true. But they will eventually. We'll share some photos if nothing else.
Yes. So just tune into that podcast. This is a really cool endeavor that we've started with the help of our communications director, Jennifer. So, tune in and share that. And we're just looking forward to interacting with you all. Of course, it may not be face-to-face, but we're so grateful for the various technologies that we're still able to interact with our partners. So thank you all for your support.
Yeah, and I see one, Kathy mentioned about the question box, and I see you already responded to her. So yeah, we use a lot of different platforms. Sometimes we get them confused, but yeah, the GoToWebinar has the questions box. So it seems like we've made it through most of those. I wanted to give anyone an opportunity that wants to unmute themselves now to be able to ask a question or make a comment. All right. Well, if no one has any comments that they'd like to make, I'd just say keep tuned in. We're going to be pushing out a lot more information. You've heard about some of it today. And we'll have a new update on our next webinar, and we'll be sending more information. Please get in touch with us if there's anything we can do to support you. And I will be glad to answer your questions, help you in any way that we can. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. We could not, absolutely not do this without you. So thank you to everyone. We really appreciate your time, and join us again. And we'll look forward to sharing your ideas and hearing more about what you're going to do to pay attention to prevention and stop abuse and neglect before it starts. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.